Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. For today's midweek meta deck, we are playing Lord Beerus's Ninjas deck that they took to win a legacy challenge the other day. So, we played Ninjas on the channel a fair bit. I have a donor who loves a bit of Ninjas, so I'm quite lucky that I get to play this deck a fair bit. And I think this deck is really sweet. This particular version has got some really interesting stuff going on. But generally, the gist of how this deck operates is you have your enablers, so you have Ornithopter, Tamiyo and Changeling Outcast, and then you flip them into either a Yuriko or an Ingenious Infiltrator, and these will draw you cards. They also trigger off of other ninjas, so if you just have your Changeling Outcast out as well as one of these, you can peck away and then get the card advantage. Also, Kaito is like our big top-end ninja, which could just completely swing games and do a lot of stuff, but the pump on this is going to pump like our Yurikos, our Ingenious Infiltrators, and our Changing Outcasts, so we're going to get a lot more value out of Kaito than a lot of other decks do. We also have some Orcish Bowmasters, just a generically good card. Sometimes you see Baleful Strix in this spot, but Bowmasters is fine too. This gives you two bodies, so you can attack with them both, and then blink back one of them to get your ninja out. We've got some Brainstorms to sort of smooth things along. We've got a bunch of counter magic, like Force of Wills and Dazes. If we're drawing extra cards, we can certainly pitch cards to Force of Will, no problem. Then we've got some Fail Pushes and a Snuff Out. A Retrofitter Foundry, which gives us another way of using the Ornithopter. So sometimes the Ornithopter is going to be just an enabler, but sometimes it can become a 4/4 with a Retrofitter's Foundry. Then we have a bit of Graveyard Hate because that's the world we live in right now. Mana base wise, we have a lot more jewels than you would normally expect from the Ninjas decks that I play. So we have one island, one swamp, one Otawara, and then the rest is fetches and jewels. We do have the Undercity Sewers in here and 4 Underground Sea, and this allows us to fit in 2 Wastelands. We have 2 more Wastelands in the sideboard as well. A lot of Ninjas decks don't play Wasteland at all, so it's kind of interesting seeing them back in the mix again. Sideboard-wise, we've got some generically good creature that we can play and just win games with, especially against red decks. Got a bit more counter magic in Force of Negation, Hydro Blast, and Consigned to Memory. Got a bit more Graveyard Hate in Surgical Extraction and Grafdigger's Cage. We've got a Null Rod, and we've got another piece of removal in Fatal Push. So, pretty much just a classic blue-black sideboard of stuff that is generically useful in certain matchups, really. Generically useful in certain matchups. That doesn't make the most amount of sense, does it? Alright, first league of the morning. Let's switch my brain on. Let's play some Ninjas. Like and subscribe. Let's go. If you're going to MagicCon Las Vegas this year, from the 20th of June to the 22nd of June, you can catch my sponsor 3-for-1 Trading there. They'll be buying up collections as well as selling some well-priced singles to help you get all that sweet legacy goodness that you need for your deck. This opener for our first round looks fine to me. Let's go Surveil Land into Bowmasters. We have to play on non-basics if we want black, so we may as well lean into it. A Cradle. Sorry, yeah, it's not the Gaia's Cradle, the other Cradle. So this is going to be probably something lands or lands adjacent. I will play out a Misty Rainforest. We have Emergency Brainstorm available. We've got Force of Will for something sketchy we need to say no to. Just see how this transpires. Dark Depths. Malevolent Rumble. Okay. Ugh. They choose Wasteland. Alright, Mox Diamond, you're going to discard this. So we know they have a Wasteland. We're getting a Surveil Land here anyway. I think so. I don't like it, but I think that's still correct. Retrofitters. They have a Tabernacle already in their graveyard. I don't think this is where I want to be. Like, they can just loan this back up and then making guys doesn't feel... Like, making guys going wide doesn't feel great. I'll play out another non-basic. And then we have Bowmasters and double Force of Will if we need it. But Force of Will, not great against our opponent anyway, because they just rebuy their loam every turn. An Exploration. I don't think we'd fight over that. I think we'd fight over crop rotations. There's a Wasteland. There's a Ghost Quarter. Ooh, Ghost Quarter's a bit grim for us. I don't believe my opponent's mana off this Eldrazi Spawn is that important. So I'm not going to ping it. They ping it, then if we ping it, they sacrifice it, then we don't get the Orc Army. I think having 2 bodies, even though one of them just gets chumped, is better for us. Yep. There is a Wasteland. Not firing off the Ghost Quarter though. Right, let's bash. Let's get our Yuriko in. I guess we'll get back this Orcish Bowmasters because we can still ping with damage with it. Grow our Orc Army and such. How big is this hit going to be? 1. Not the greatest amount of additional damage, but I'll take it. So Kaito is a useful thing we can use to mess with the Dark Depths sometimes. Crop rotation. Hell no. I think we have to get rid of the Brainstorm here. Just in case we need another Force of Will to get through another crop rotation. Crop rotation would have produced the Marit Lage, which we are not in a position to beat. If they sorcery speed a Marit Lage, we can beat that. Alright, we're not having a lot of lands, so Kaito is probably going to get pitched to Force of Will. It's a possibility anyway. Alright, so we probably just go and get black mana here. Would I like to connect with the Yuriko right now? I think so, which means Orcish Bowmasters is coming after their guy. They're going to sacrifice it, but it just means that our Yuriko doesn't get chump blocked and we get the trigger off of the Yuriko. So they should sacrifice here. Yeah. So then the Orc army doesn't grow because it was an invalid target, so the entire ability fizzles, but we get to connect with the Yuriko, which is likely to be more than 1 damage to their face, as well as being card advantage. Ooh, 5. That's a big hit. Okay, so they know crop rotation isn't great for them. A Wasteland. Sure, we can keep doing this. But we have the pressure on board. There's 3 damage. Plus a Yuriko triggering with a Tamiyo. I will take a Tamiyo, I guess. We have 2 Force of Wills. We're not playing this Kaito out anytime soon. Our mana is under a lot of pressure here. We're just trying to win with the stuff we have in play. Alright, we managed to get over the line there. Looked a bit dicey at moments, but we managed to put it together. So, what is good in a matchup like this? Wasteland is good, because we need to take out specific lands at specific times. Force of Negation is very good against the Life from the Loams of this world. I guess we probably want Surgical for Loam as well. I don't like Force of Will here. The only thing I like to counter with Force of Will is crop rotation, really. Sometimes Exploration early on is okay. Snuff Out, not great here. Nihil Spellbomb is good. The Dazes are pretty poor. We just take all those out, and then we take out 1 force. Do we want something like a Null Rod? So there's a few options here. We can have... so the Fatal Pushes can hit as a Saga tokens when they start churning them out. So that's kind of a relatively important thing. We could strip a Force Wall and get another Fatal Push. We could just get some Barragoys to have some generic threats, but 3 drops don't feel like where I want to be in this matchup. Null Rod can shut down their Mox Diamonds and sometimes other things. I think we're just fine with 3 forces. We'll have a couple of Fatal Pushes. We've got a bunch of Wastelands to deal with their stuff. I think we're going in like this. Like, so Consigned to Memory, before anyone asks, doesn't work on the Marit Lage token, because what happens is state-based effects trigger, and it checks to see if it has any counters on the Dark Depths. If it has no counters, it makes it 20/20. You can counter that ability with Consigned to Memory. But then, again, state-based effects are checked. It doesn't have that ability on the stack, so then it puts it on the stack again, so it doesn't get you anywhere. I think this is fine. A little bit of Tamiyo gaming. I will keep this. We did see a Ghost Quarter of our opponent last game. I suspect that is a one-off, just so they have the full grind you into nothing plan, which I do enjoy a great deal. Okay, our opponent's hand is a little bit quicker this time. It's going to be Malevolent Rumble. Yep. Lands is actually doing very well in Legacy right now. There's not that many people playing it. It's only 2% of the meta. But the... What do we put in the hand? A Dark Depths. Okay. There's not a lot of people playing it, but it's putting up a decent amount of top 8s. So, we've seen the Ghost Quarter. There's a Dark Depths there. Interesting. Right, I'm just going to play this Underground Sea. I'm going to go play the Tamiyo. So I can extract this Thespian Stage in our opponent's draw step. And just say no to that entirely. Because if they have it in hand, that kind of sucks for us. We're not really in a position to beat that right now. So if they have a crop rotation, they can get one out of their deck right now, is the only downside here. But then we can untap and Wasteland. But then they'll still have one in the mix, just generally speaking. Oh, wow. They've scooped. Okay, I guess they were on just the Turbo Dark Depths build and they didn't have any Sagas. Wowzers trousers. Alright. Surgical Extraction was pretty good. Let's go to round 2. Only 1 land. This is certainly an interesting one. We're on the draw though, so we get 2 draw steps to find a land, so we can just curve 1 into 2. We do have the release valve of a force. And we do get to decide what we're fetching with this after we see our opponent's first turn. So I think I'm going to keep this one lander. We do have a Brainstorm which we can use to find something if we need to. And then the upside of this is very powerful. And the downside is something we can get around. Right, are we getting blasted with the Thoughtseize on one? Or are we going to see, like, the new Knight guy? Alright, so they're going to know that we only have one land. What do you take from this hand? Okay, they're taking the Force. Okay, are they trying to do something a bit more combo-y, perhaps? So I can Brainstorm right now and play around our opponent having a Orcish Bowmasters. Or I could go and get an Underground Sea and play a Changing Outcast. Or I can wait and just go and try and get maximum looks at another land by going Surveil land in their end step and then Brainstorming on our turn. There's a lot of choices. A lot of stuff going on there. If our opponent is taking Force of Wills, are they trying to push us into committing to the board so they can Wasteland us? That would make some sense. Because we can't just sit back on the Force of Will and know we're safe. We're going to have to play the game. I think we're going to pass here. And then we'll decide if we're doing a Brainstorm or an Undercity Sewers, depending on what our opponent does. This could be a Dark Ritual. It is a Dark Ritual. Collective Brutality. Okay, so we're doing some reanimation shenanigans. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose an instant or sorcery card from it. That player discards that card. And then they're going to reanimate this Grizzlebrand. Alright, I'm going to fire off a Brainstorm here. And see if we can find 3 bits of interaction. I suspect we are just scooping this one up pretty quick. We also now know that we can go and get non-basics. They take the Force. They put the Grizzlebrand in. I guess there is a very, very minor chance they don't have the Grizzlebrand here. I think that is kind of nonsense. We also aren't going to be drawing a land for a while anyway. Alright, you can have a look. They already know we're playing ninjas anyway, so we're not giving away any information. But maybe they're just going to fire off another discard spell. There's a very, very small chance that this matters, because they obviously kept their hand for a reason. Alright, Dark Ritual, going again. It's going to be an Animate Dead then. A Shallow Grave. Sure, that's going to kill us. The idea that Reanimator can't exist without Entomb is a wild one to me. Clearly, like, our opponent didn't use an Entomb, and obviously you can build the deck differently so it doesn't need Entomb, and it still gets to do this sort of openers. Alright, so I would like some Graveyard Hate. That seems like an easy one. The Graphicus Cage as well. I would like access to these Force of Negations. We didn't see enough of our opponent's deck to necessarily know what their pivot plan is, if they have one. So I don't. We're obviously not keeping the Snuff Out, and that can just get right out. The Nihil Spellbomb is great here. Retrofitter Foundry is way too slow to matter here. How useful do we think these Fatal Pushes are going to be? I don't think the Tamiyo is looking great. It's better in our deck than it is in a lot of other decks, because we actually turn the body into something that pressures. Whereas normally this is the matchup where Tamiyo is very bad for a lot of other Tamiyo decks, because you just don't get the time to do this. You either win the game and then you can crack some clues later, or you just have this card that does nothing. But for us, it is an enabler, so it's a kind of different bit of maths there. Kaito is something that can tap down some of our opponent's things if they manage to get something into play. Orcish Bowmasters is pretty good against Grizzlebrand. So the one reason we would like the Fatal Push is if our opponent pivots into Witherbloom Apprentice, but we haven't seen any green mana yet. I'm going to take out a Tamiyo. We still have Counter Magic, which can hit the Witherbloom Apprentice. I think we just have to live with that. We can also use a couple of Wastelands that we do have to knock them off with green at times. We have a Daze. Is that good enough against our opponent's turn 1 send? Probably not. But it allows us to get 3 more looks, and we kind of get through the first thing our opponent does. I think that is acceptable, actually. We can maybe get the Orcish Bowmasters down, which is pretty good too. So we have access to Brainstorm, so we can Brainstorm around just a Thoughtseize. And then try and find like a Cage or a Surgical. It's the Dark Ritual we don't want to see here. A Cabal Therapy. I'm casting the Cabal Therapy. I do want to get this Brainstorm off. I'm going to Brainstorm and then mess with what our opponent's stuff is. Okay. I like having access to this. We don't need another Ingenious Infiltrator, do we? So we're going to float this Force of Negation on top so they can't take it right now. What are you going to name? This is an interesting little game. We're keeping a Daze just in case something goes... I don't think they're going to name Daze. They named Force of Will. Okay. So now we have Orcish Bowmasters, Daze, and Force of Negation. They now know that Grizzlebrand isn't going to be their best friend here. If they reanimate a Grizzlebrand and draw, we might just be able to kill them straight up. I could Surveil for more action, but I think we've got a decent amount of action. We need to actually win the game now. So let's make use of the fact that we have this window to resolve a threat. Okay. This is a Surveil land. That seems like a useful thing to have access to. So there are two schools of thought here. Orcish Bowmasters does stop our opponent. If they are playing red, it will stop Faith's looting. If they put a Grizzlebrand in play, it will stop them doing anything with it. So if we bounce this, we get more value, but we open ourselves up to getting whacked from it. I think I'm just going to ninjutsu in the Infiltrator here. Collective Brutality, perhaps? So the Cabal Therapy lines in this deck, let's say it didn't have Entomb anymore. You get to run Putrid Imp as a discard outlet. Alright, Serra's Emissary and a Doughty Voidwalker. They're going for all the modes. They want to kill our guy. They want to take a card from our hand. They've got 3 cards left. If I Daze this, they pay, for sure. Okay, I'm going to force this. And then hope that our Daze can do enough to get through what our opponent's doing. We Daze basically anything our opponent plays here. Apart from Lotus Petal, then we're just dead. Alright. But having Putrid Imp as an enabler that also works with Cabal Therapy is pretty cool. That's what these decks used to do once upon a time. Do not need another land. Surgical Extraction is a big find. We don't have another Surveil land, so I'm not going to play out this fetch. Do I need to keep these in hand for Brainstorm, or do I want to work towards Hardcast Force of Will? I think we play one out, and then we can keep the other one to play around. If we draw a Force, we can drop it. If we don't, we can keep it for a Brainstorm until the time is right. Ingenious Infiltrator. Okay. I'm not just going to jam this, I don't think. Maybe we could have just jammed it. Maybe that would have been better. But I want to represent some strength here. Creation of Avacyn. So they get to sort of show and tell here. I don't think we're dazing this. I would like to bring back my Undercity Sewers, but they're going to lose a lot of life from this. We might be able to get them gone before then. So we find out what this is next turn, then we can work out how we're dealing with it afterwards. Because if they get one of their big creatures, they could just be dead here. Kind of do wish we played this Ingenious Infiltrator now. I'll go to attacks. We're about to draw all the cards that you've ever seen here. Blue, black. Let's ninjutsu this in. Place our Bowmasters. So each one of these sees itself and its friend. So we get to do a lot of triggers here. Okay, that is many, many things. I would like to get this Bowmasters down. I think that is one of the things we definitely want to have happen here. So this puts our opponent to 8. So if they reveal an 8 drop, they die. This is creature cards in graveyards, can't cast spells from graveyards or libraries. Is that better than a Nihil Spellbomb? I don't think it is. Let's just get the Spellbomb down, and we'll pass over. Because we can use the Spellbomb, draw a card, maybe set up a Brainstorm, and get some other stuff going. This extra card on our turn might be enough to get us like another ninja in. What do they reveal? Archon of Cruelty. Yeah, I thought that might happen. Okay, so we know they don't have a Witherbloom Apprentice plan now. So that's good information to have. We can consign to memory that little thing they showed us. What's it called? Something of Avacyn. So we could consign to memory that trigger. That is real. So what would be good to board out for this? We're just boarding out Tamiyos again for consigns. That's probably okay. We have less enablers. But the Ornithopter is a better enabler in a lot of ways because it allows us to like Brainstorm for action or whatever, as well as deploying something. So I think it ends up better. So we can play Ornithopter and hold up Consign, which is something we don't get to do with the Tamiyo. We have a piece of Graveyard Hate. We don't have any mana. I don't think we can keep this one. Can we keep this one? Was that a wild thing to do? The Wasteland is rubbish. We should have bought it out, actually. Do I want to keep this hand? We're on the draw. We have 2 pieces of interaction for our opponent's very fast combo deck. They are keeping with 7. We still have a play. If we draw a land... Alright, I'm going to keep this one. I would snap this off against someone like Oops All Spells. Our opponent wants to play more turns of the game than an Oops All Spells deck does. So we actually have to play a little bit of real magic. Cabal Therapy. You got it, boss. Rest in peace, my Force of Will. Yeah. They didn't get in their own head and name something weird. Oh wow, we do another Force. That is obviously very good for us. Let's get a 0 mana 0/2. Unmasked targeting us. I guess just losing 1 card is fine. We have Graveyard Hate and Force of Will. They took the Force. But they can still play that Avacyn's... What's it called? A Doughty Voidwalker. Sure. Now, we did see these from our opponents, but I think we should be fine against them. Obviously, we need to draw some lands. Maybe we're just going to be punished for this one. We're too scared of the turn 1 send. Now we don't get to play Magic the Gathering. If we surgical something, our opponent can Doughty Voidwalker and surgical our forces as like an extra way of checking. Another Ornithopter. Not really what the Doctor ordered. Spoils of the Vault. Okay. Our opponent might just lose the game here. Let's hope. So they name a card, they reveal cards. Until they find that card, they lose 1 life for each card revealed. It was the top card of their library. Okay, they just wanted a swamp. Okay, that's fair enough. So this allows them to play around a Daze, but we can't play the Daze yet, but maybe they're planning for future turns. Or they have like a big 4-drop. This is a side of our opponent's deck that we might not have seen yet. Maybe they're going into stuff like Shouldered. You don't need to play around Daze because you haven't got an island opponent. You can just send it, and we can just scoop this one up and have a lovely time. Oh, Brainstorm. Not quite the one we wanted there. Right, so now they're going to play Shouldered. Helm of Obedience. Yeah. I'll scoop to that. Yeah, we kept a hand to try and not die on turn 1. But obviously our opponent is playing like a deck that actually does want to play Magic. We probably should have mulliganed. Like if we'd have hit a land that could, like if we'd have just hit, even a black land would have been fine to get Orcish Bowmasters and get some pressure going. If we'd have hit like any access to blue-black, we would have been absolutely fine that game. We saw 11 cards and didn't find a coloured source. We've got, what, 17 coloured sources? That's quite a lot. Alright, on to round 3. For the best Eternal experience this summer, check out Eternal Mania in Hasselt, Belgium from August 8th to 10th. Aside from hosting the European Legacy Masters, they have a whole host of other tournaments from team trios to old school and pre-modern. I will be there playing Legacy and hanging out as a special guest. This will also be the first event that I'll be giving out my own special Marit Lage tokens, so why not come down to enjoy an awesome weekend ran by one of the best TOs in Europe. Okay, this is fine. We can keep this. We got Tamiyo into Yuriko. It's kind of what our jam is all about. Shatterskull. We're going to get Chalice? No. Okay, that's good news for us. So we're going to go and get a basic island so that we can play around Blood Moon somewhat. We don't want to get Blood Moon next time. We want to get just our next basic. If we can get both basics, I think we'll be fine this game. A Fury. Pitching a Sundering Eruption. That shows the fear that Tamiyo puts into people. Okay. Are you going to Blood Moon me as well? No. This is 4 mana for the 1 ring. Yeah, that's obviously horrible for other reasons, but I'll take it. We at least get to have our colours, which is not something to be upset about. Right, we'll play our Changing Outcast as our little enabler. Our opponent should know what we're doing now. If we don't get Blood Moon, we can play one of these and then redeploy the Changing Outcast. Also, our Changing Outcast needs to survive. Okay, so they're going to wait till next turn and then Blood Moon. That would be my guess. It's going to be a Chalice for 1. It is. We've gone past that phase of the game, I think. But it means we don't get to recast this Changeling. We just get 1 hit with it. Is it better to get one hit with this, or just to keep this around as an unblockable threat? Like, how different is it for us if we put an Undercity Sewers in here and do this, or we can just put the Yuriko in right now? I think we just put the Yuriko in. I think that makes more sense. Because this is a ninja, so we'll trigger our ninjutsu. Sorry, not our ninjutsu. Our Yuriko's triggered ability. Let's get another card. A Force of Will, and we dome our opponent for 5. Okay, that play worked out quite nicely. Our opponent's going to be going down to 9 here. We're threatening pretty substantive amount of damage here. If we can find another untapped land, we can just deploy this Ingenious Infiltrator and just curve out. We kind of struggle to beat permanents like this once they've resolved. We do obviously have Null Rod in the sideboard, but we're not like brazen borrowing stuff. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. How many artifacts do they have? 1, 2. So this will be a 3/3. So this is already going to be bigger than we want to deal with. Are we okay with this because we can block it anyway? It's going to make their sagas bigger over time. Or are we just going to jam a bunch of Ingenious Infiltrators at our opponents? They've got 5 cards in hand. That's a lot of cards. I think there's other things we need to be more scared of than this. So now we're just relying on the unblockable creature, which isn't a terrible strategy, to be honest. Chalice of the Void for 0, that's fine. Means that their construct's going to be big, but they're going to have to tap this Ancient Tomb if they want to make it. Untapped land, please. Not an untapped land. That is awkward for us. So we attack with the Changing Outcast. It's unblockable. We might find an untapped land and get to deploy this second main phase, and that's still okay. Nihil Spellbomb is utterly useless. Right, let's get some Surveil land going. An untapped land. So we don't really need you a now untapped land, do we? So we've got a bunch of cards we can't cast at the moment. Sure, you can go to 5. Then they're going to go to 2 here. And the Changing Outcast will kill them if we have a spell on top of our library. As long as that spell is an Ornithopter. Which we know it's going to be, right? That's how this game works. Pretty interesting, though. We're close. Our opponent can play another copy of the One Ring this turn. Which means this doesn't get to deal damage because protection prevents damage. You can't be dealt damage by, so we won't get the damage trigger. It's not that we can deal damage, but it won't actually reject their life total. Which is something like Platinum Empyrean, which is a different text wording. Alright, a Shadow Spear. That's pretty good. That is pretty good. This is a line that our opponent would not have access to before the Urza's Saga changes, of course. So they can bash us, what, for 7 here? That's so many. No, it's going to be more, actually. You're going to tap the Shaman as well, so it's going to be 8. And they're going to go up to 10. In their upkeep, they're going to go down to 7. Yikes. Right, we can block the 2/2 at least to prevent 2 damage. Take a big hit here. Then we have to hope that our Changing Outcast finds something that costs a lot of mana. Snuff Out would be okay here because we could snuff this one out. I guess we're just playing Ingenious Infiltrator. Maybe the Snuff Out can come to our aid if we draw that. Right, unblockable creature. I'm so glad we didn't bounce this early on. It's given us some actual lines where we might be able to win the game now. It doesn't really matter which order these go. We're not stacking the deck. Brainstorm. Ornithopter. So we don't get to play the Ornithopter because of the Chalice. So I guess we'll just discard the Ornithopter at end turn. Okay, we didn't find the one-off Snuff Out that would have been great here. Yep, so they're going to go to 5 in their upkeep. And then they have 8 coming in here. So we probably have to block here and here. They gain 8. Have they got Boots of Going Faster? Whatever they're called. I can never remember the name of them. Lava Boots? Lava Spare Boots? If they've got those in their... I guess they can't play them right now. They need to wait for this to trigger. So we still have one more turn. This can't tap this turn. I'm trying to think how we die this turn. Fury. Fury killing one of our guys. Then we only get to block this and we take lethal. So that works. They tap the One Ring. they're effectively going to 0, but then going up to 8. This can't deal 8 damage in one go. We don't have anything like massive. Force of Will is the highest CMC stuff we have. We don't have anything like a Murderous Cut, which would be nice. I normally like having Murderous Cut as a tool in these ninja decks. Alright, coming in with 2 creatures. We block this one. We take 8. This game doesn't feel particularly winnable. Shadow Spear just absolutely ruin us. A few of these Urza Saga mono red decks have top 8'd in the last week. So they are seeming to give a little bit of new life to the red Stompy deck, which hadn't top 8'd anything for ages. Kind of been pushed out of the meta. Or maybe this is something that can tangle with Baragoyf, and that's kind of a big deal. A Daze, you say. So we can play some guy. Snuff Out is off the table now, but we could draw a Snuff Out with this. Does that make any difference? No, we're just going to take all the damages in the world. We get 1 damage in. They're going to take 4 or 5 damage. Yeah, I don't think we win this one. Yep, the One Ring is a pretty good Magic the Gathering card. So, what looks good here? The Baragoyfs are an absolute beast in this matchup, so I'll take those. I'll take a Null Rod. I'll take a Fatal Push. We could take Consigns. We're obviously taking the Hydroblasts. We could take the Forces. Depends how we want to play this game. Are we trying to like consign some Saga triggers? That can be pretty big. I don't like Daze very much in this matchup because our opponent just has so much mana and plays around it easily. We don't need a Nihil Spellbomb. So that's a few reasonable cuts. I like the Snuff Out here. We do want some Forces. The Orcish Bowmaster is kind of one of the weak links here. It's not really pinging anything down. Sometimes it pings down a construct, but our opponent usually has artifacts, so I don't think we want those. I think I'd rather take this selection of cards. And we're still 1 card over here. We're obviously not going to remove any more threats from our deck. If we're boarding in the Null Rod, should we still have the Retrofitter Foundry? Like, it is a 1-and-1 here, right? The chance of them treading on each other's toes are very low. Maybe we just take... No, the Ornithopter is pretty good here. So is the Tamiyo, though. So the Tamiyo just allows us to accrue some cards. But Tamiyo's not great with Null Rod. Okay, I'll trim 1 Tamiyo. This doesn't have much of a game plan outside of stopping our opponent's scary few things. But I think that is something I'm okay with. This is our only way of answering opponent in play as well. But are we supposed to... Like, can we rely on this Wasteland? It is pretty good to hit a Saga with it. Which is a new dimension we have to worry about with these mono red decks. But we just don't have any of our own game plan. So we'll stop 1 or 2 things, and then what happens? I guess the way we lose this game, a lot of it comes down to the One Ring. Like, if we can trade with their pieces early on, that's okay. It's when the One Ring just gasses them up again. That's when we struggle. And this just says no One Rings will ever work. A Chrome Mox. Sure, that is a nice thing for our Null Rod to shut down next turn. What do we put under that? Sundering Eruption. A Broadside Bombardiers. Alright, let's go and get our basic. This is a worthy thing to blast. And then we can play Wasteland into Null Rod here, and that shuts off their mana here. Pretty good. We can get this Ornithopter down as well. Can't activate the abilities of my Ornithopter. What a shame. So this takes them off of red mana, which might be useful. Okay, Simian Spirit Guide. Another Broadside Bombardier. So now they're just going to throw this at our Ornithopter, but that's fine. Sure. That's not going to our face. Force of Will. Alright, let's have a look. Baragoyf. That is among the best cards in our deck. Baragoyf backed up by a Force of Will. I will take that. I'm not going to Wasteland here. I'd rather hit like a red source if they only have one. But I feel that the Baragoyf is probably going to be enough to take us over the edge and win here. Unless something really messed up happens this turn. But we have Force of Wills, which is obviously a useful tool. Let's play a Baragoyf backed up by Force of Will. This is why the mono red Stompy decks haven't been doing very well pre-Urza Saga change. They started off okay and they basically just dropped off the face of the earth. I didn't think they got a top 8 for weeks and weeks and weeks. because it's just really hard to contend with this in a red deck because your regular burn stuff isn't going to hit it. A Fury. This is going to deal 4 damage and they're going to throw it with a broadside. So this is a Force of Will for us. You got another one? They do have another one. Okay. And then they throw it with the broadside. Alright. Be a good time to draw another Barraglyph. An Ornithopter. Not really great here. I'm not going to wasteland our opponent. This land is going to die on its own anyway. They're basically trying to get one spell out of this. Then we can stop them getting further follow-up spells. Double Fury is pretty good. Bloodstained Mire. We already have our Surveil land. But having 4 mana for our Otawara is pretty big. I don't think we need to fire it off just yet. But we can see what this turn brings. Right, we go get our Swamp. Okay, so we can fire this off now. Just get this out of here. Opponent's got 4 cards in hand. Force of Negation. Interesting. Am I wastelanding? I don't think so. I think we just need to make our opponent have 1 spell. And then we just cut them off. This doesn't hit the Broadside Bombardiers if they want to play that. But they currently seem to be stuck on lands. Fatal Push is excellent. This allows us to turn on our Wasteland and kill a Broadside Bombardiers now. At some point we'll draw a threat. Okay, that's not a bad one, is it? What do we play here? I don't think we're playing... Okay, I think we're just going to play... Actually, no, this is a bad one, right? Because we have the Null Rod in play. This is the one thing that we didn't want to happen. Okay. We'll just pass. This is going to be Brainstorm back in our library at some point. We have one of each of these. The fact they both come up at the same time is kind of annoying. Obviously, we could have boarded this out, so it would have 0 chance of happening. And Urza's Saga. Before this learns to make mana, I'm going to Wasteland it. I like the amount of permanence our opponent has. I just wish that we had something that actually did a thing. Right, I'll play a fetch land and pass. We've got a bunch of threats. Well, obviously, we did board out 4 Orcish Bowmasters. We have drawn 2 of the cards that would have been in the Orcish Bowmasters' place. But I don't mind having these cards. Alright, they've got another City of Traitors. That doesn't feel like a great one to play out first. Alright, I will take this Wasteland. I'm not going to wasteland this for the reasons we didn't wasteland the previous one. What a weird game we've found ourselves in. A Brainstorm. Hallelujah. Get out of here, Retrofitter Foundry, and I don't think we need another land here, do we? Let's crack this. Go and get ourselves an Underground Sea. Attack with this Ornithopter. I would like to have a Yuriko, please. We are shields down on the Force of Negation this one time. Unless we draw a blue card with the Yuriko. We did not draw a blue card with the Yuriko. I'm going to play this out. I'm going to play this out. So this is the one turn with shields down. Maybe we're supposed to wasteland because of that. Just so they can't get anything going. And then we can untap and sit on our Force of Negations. But this is also the thing that's going to get us Revolt for our Fatal Pushes. No, I think we're just going to hold. We can wasteland an Urza's Saga with its ability to learn to make mana on the stack. If I untap, I think we are fine. As long as nothing too scary slips through. I think the scarier things don't even get answered by Force of Negation anyway. Things like the Broadside Bombardiers, although this can hit a Chromox. Not that we care about Chromox because of the Null Rod, but maybe they've got some sort of weird 2-step plan. They are evoking a Fury. Pitching a Sundering Eruption. This is pretty good. They're going to clear out our 2 creatures with power. They are indeed. So we're back to where we were. And the game continues to game. Polluted Delta. This doesn't actually do anything for us. We'll just say that for Brainstorm purposes. We already have the Wasteland if we need to trigger Revolt. And we're only going to need to trigger Revolt if they put something into play, which means they're going to probably have to play a mana source. Another City of Traitors, okay. The One Ring. This is whilst we have a Null Rod active. Okay. It feels like bait, perhaps. Or part of a multi-step process to get rid of our Null Rod. Another land. Okay, I think when we have two of these fetches, I'm going to play one out so that we at least have a fetch after a Brainstorm. And we're just going to sit here and wait till we draw something useful. Could be waiting a while. But we have creatures answered, we have spells answered. Right, there is a land that we can't Wasteland. A Broadside Bombardiers. Okay, so this is going to fling the One Ring and try and kill us. So we're going to crack this land. And we're going to fatal push their guy. I do not want to be flung a One Ring. So we can understand why they played this now. Doesn't mean we have to answer all their Broadside Bombardiers when they play them. But that's okay. Right, our opponent's going to know we've got a creature since we're attacking. Let's get our ninja in. Draw a card. Alright, we're going to see something here. A Pyro Blast. I don't think we're fighting over this, as annoying as that is. I'll play out this Ornithopter. Am I playing this out for... No, the only way they're going to play something is if they play a land that we can Wasteland. So we'll have the Revolt ready to go. Wasteland can also Wasteland itself. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. That is very much something I would like to hit with a Force of Negation. But we're now getting to the stage where we need to get something going. Alright, here is something going. Let's draw a card with our Infiltrator. I'll play this out. I'll play this out. In our opponent's upkeep, we're going to Wasteland this just so our Revolt is triggered, but they still don't have the mana because they cast things at sorcery speed. But this play might make quite a big difference to us. Having the Revolt without having to crack the fetch might be relevant. Okay. Let's go to attacks. Baragoyf. This is huge news, obviously. If we connect once with this, then I think we win the game. Our opponent only has 2 cards in hand. Well, they're about to go up to 3. But they only have 1 land. Things we're most worried about are creatures. Alright, our opponent's had enough and they've scooped it up. That was an absolute slog. Do we need more Wastelands because our opponent is playing as a Saga? Maybe I'll swap a Retrofitter Foundry for a Wasteland. So we don't end up in that position. Obviously we just brainstormed away and it was fine, but still. I think this is okay. Do we want Orcish Bowmasters over Tamiyos? Tamiyos are blue cards, so I don't think so. We answer the first thing. We have a piece of removal. We're a little bit slow out the gates, but we have interaction, and we have access to both of our basics. I will take that. We're going to see... Oh. I was thinking about it. A Chrome Mox. Sure. What is this? A Red Blast. A Chalice for 1. That shuts off our Brainstorm, but I think I can live with the Chalice for 1. For now. We're immediately going to draw 1 drop, but... What did I say? Okay. The way we lose this game is if our opponent gets the One Ring unchecked. I'm not going to get Surveil now, we just need to get basics here. Need to not mess around with that. Okay. We're just going to be hard casting our creatures. Because our creatures are 2 drops that are secretly actually 3 drops and 4 drops, it means that stuff like Chalice doesn't always do the things you would think it would do. So our opponent can't Pyroblast our stuff anymore. Let's get an island. Let's get swamp. Let's deploy a win condition. Next time we can just play the Ingenious Infiltrator and crack with both of them. A Simian Spirit Guide. Okay. Not really the banger our opponent was hoping for, I suspect. Fatal Push is annoying here. I'm going to cast an Ingenious Infiltrator. And then I'm going to snuff out this Simian Spirit Guide. Not really where I want to use my Snuff Out, but we get 2 cards out of this exchange, and that's huge. Force of Will, please. Alright, no, we just have the 1 Force of Will. We get to play another Ingenious Infiltrator, and we draw many, many cards next turn. Alright, Ingenious Infiltrator. This is good for 6 cards, I think. Yes, indeed. Wowzers trousers. That was good. We can't play out any 1-drops. I guess we go to clean up. I will get rid of some 1-drops. Not the blue ones, I guess. Although, actually, we have access to this Otawara now, don't we? So I get rid of this land. I get rid of Tamiyo and Brainstorm. Alright, our opponent's had enough. Alrighty. That went pretty well for us. Let's go to round 4. Okay. We're relying a little bit on this Brainstorm to get us going where we need to go, but I'm down with that. I will keep... If we get in a really horrible situation, we can always Daze our own spell to bounce our land. Don't really want to do that, obviously. I wonder if our opponent will snap off a Wasteland if they have one in this situation. Okay, that is an Ancient Tomb. That is a Grim Monolith. I think we're going to choke them on the payoff cards rather than the mana here. Soul Guide Lantern is not a card we care about. I don't think we have a single thing. Oh, Tamiyo is the only thing in our deck that cares about it. Okay, it's a lot of mana. Just trying to choke them on payoffs. The upside of us hitting the right thing is so high that I'm going to Brainstorm right now. We did find the land. We don't need a second Yuriko. This is not a matchup where our mana base matters. Our opponent's not going to be wastelanding us or anything. Let's attack with this. Let's get Yuriko up and running. A Tamiyo. I'll play out this Ornithopter. We have 2 Dazes available and a Force of Will now. How useful the Daze is going to be when our opponent's got a lot of mana, I'm not sure. Ah, there's a Saga. That can be a little bit of a pickle for us. Lotus Petal, we're not interacting with that. We're just trying to choke them on payoffs. So the 1 ring we will point a Force of Will at. That is the 1 ring. I'm going to bin off this Daze because I don't think we're going to get much use out of it. Now they still have this as a Saga, so I would like to find a Wasteland if possible. Now we've already seen that Changing Outcast can swing through as a Saga tokens quite nicely. Alright, they're in drawing card off of their Soul Guide Lantern mode. More mana. Okay. Not a Wasteland, but I will certainly take a Force of Will. I'll attack with all my creatures, send a message with this Ornithopter. Otawara. This can, not with the mana we have, but it can bounce some stuff. Alright, let's get this unblockable guy in. Do I think Daze is going to come up here? Look at our opponent's board. I don't believe Daze is going to matter here. I'm going to have that as our blue card and just play a Tamiyo and just put more stuff on the board. Alright. Not looking forward to these big construct tokens. But they're probably going to keep tapping this Ancient Tomb. Okay, maybe not. They now have an Urza's Workshop that taps for 2. So just strictly better Ancient Tomb on this board right now. Sure. Lots of mana is happening. Glaring Fleshraker. They only have 1 card in hand. I don't think we fight over the Fleshraker, as weird as that sounds. I think what I'm worried about is like a big card draw engine. Another Tamiyo. It's not really what I want here. What is attacking? I could bounce this. I don't think that's what I want to bounce. Not yet, anyway. We can't bounce it because we haven't got the mana for it, actually. Let's come in with these 2. This doesn't have any evasion, so it just gets gobbled up. But we still get the nice hit off of the Changing Outcast in a sec. A Kaito. That's a useful card, isn't it? Am I doing anything with my mana? No. So I think we are drawing with this clue. Another Daze. Thanks, you could help, I guess. I really want to be able to bounce something, but it just doesn't feel like we're going to be able to do that. Okay. This costs... Oh, for each legendary creature we control. Sorry, I have 2 legends. We can cast the Otawara. We shouldn't have cracked our clue then. We should have held this up. Whoops. Alright. How punished are we going to be here for that? Do they have... I guess the boots of going faster is annoying. Shadow Spear is probably equally annoying for us. And then we'll see what our opponent musters up here. We might be able to kill our opponent next time with this Kaito anyway. So having the land to cast the Kaito might be relevant too. I don't think our opponent kills us this turn. Not through our force. And then we can use the Otawara as a blocker. Yeah, so they just got a Manifold Key. So this can give them an unblockable creature. They're not gaining life, and they're not throwing 2 creatures at us. Sure. I will gain 6 life, please. That's what you can do, Ornithopter. I appreciate your efforts. Brainstorm would be nice. Not a Brainstorm. So we can Undercity Sewers and see what's on top. We get 2 triggers. Do I think getting 2 triggers is correct here? Or do I think we just want to attack with these 2, get a Kaito, and then lock down... I guess we get a Kaito, lock down a construct. That's probably the best thing we can do here. And the clue. I wish we didn't crack the clue before, to be honest. And that was a misplay that might hurt us going forwards. Alright, Tamiyo becomes a Kaito. So we connect for 4 and we get 2 triggers off of a Yuriko. 0 damage, and it doesn't really matter what the other one is because they're not dead. So this can chump block. We've already played our lands out. Oh no, I forgot to activate my Kaito. I misclicked there horribly. Oh dear, oh dear. That is an enormous error. Whoops. That is catastrophic. We've got a Force of Will to hold back the tides of something like a Kozilek's Command or a One Ring. Yeah, we should have tapped down this construct. Or even just getting a ninja token is good. Like, literally anything we could have done with this would have been better than what we did, because we did nothing with it. Although it does have 4 loyalty, but we could have had it with 5 loyalty. So they're just going to be manifold keying and giving their guy unblockable. So our plan is now going to be like Undercity Sewers, try and surveil something big to the top, play this other Yuriko out, hit, win game. This gets a lot easier if we draw a Brainstorm, I think. A manifold key. How much mana does our opponent have access to here? 3, 4, 5, 6. So these 2 become unblockable 7/7s. That sounds like a problem. I think we have to counterspell this. And hopefully our opponent's 1 card in hand isn't something that just kills us. A defense grid. Okay, how much damage is this doing to us? So we go to 11 here. We block one of these guys. We take 7, 8, 9. That's fine. If they want to go after the Kaito, we take a lot less damage. This looks eminently winnable. Would have been much more winnable if we'd have used our Kaito to do literally anything. Got my training weights on here, apparently. Yep, 7/7 is unblockable. This forces the chump on the other 7/7. So you attack with these 2, and they get the Fleshraker in as well. Because we have to block here. Oh no, that was going at Kaito. Well, they're not going after Kaito. That seems like an error to me. So this chumps here. Alright, Undercity Sewers. Show me a 1-drop. Or better. Not a 1-drop or better. This is still fine. We just tap this creature and then kill them. Alright. Yeah. Some may argue that we weren't supposed to win that one. But we did. Okay, I'll have a Null Rod. I'll have these forces. I'll have these consigns. I like these wastelands into their sagas and such. Fatal Push is okay to deal with their little Fleshraker. I don't think this game is about Retrofitter Foundry, that's for sure. It's not about Nihil Spellbomb either. The Dazes are somewhat on the clunky side, but our opponent is trying to resolve 4-drops, and maybe we can gate them in certain places. But Tamiyo with a bunch of with our like Null Rod, it feels a little bit awkward. And this is a matchup where Tamiyo's not great anyway. How much removal do we want to run for their guy? Snuff Out is the best because this doesn't require us to have Revolt. We can take out another Tamiyo here. I like the Bowmasters because they have the One Ring and I don't want to deal with that. I think we need to keep our threat base the same in terms of all this stuff. So I don't think we can afford to shave any more of these. So what do we have and what can we afford to get rid of? So I think we can cut a Fatal Push if we want to. And then what are the last two cuts? Are they Dazes because our opponent's just going to play around it? Probably. Would I rather have another Fatal Push over this Daze? Possibly. So Grafdigger's Cage can also stop our opponent's Mystic Forge, but that's the only thing it stops. I don't think it's worth it for that. Do I want another Fatal Push or a Daze? What's our blue count? Pretty good, right? All our threats are blue. So we got 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. That's plenty. 2 days, 1 Fatal Push. Right, I'm going to take 1 more Fatal Push over the Daze. I just don't think the Daze is going to be that useful. It's a thing that maybe we have 1 of and it's good. Double Wasteland hand is not nothing. But if our opponent just goes and plays a bunch of stuff out on turn 1, it doesn't feel great. We also have the Infiltrator though. Alright, I'm going to keep this one. I think this is acceptable. So we got Ornithopter and Sewers if we want it, or we can just play the Wasteland game. Are you going to do anything with this Grim Monolith? Okay, so they have the One Ring on turn 1 if they want it. That probably just beats us. Tarn. That also beats us, but in a different way. What are you going to fetch? Just the One Ring? That is the One Ring. Okay, so Dazes are also going to be much better on the play. On the draw, we're sort of seeing why they didn't do very much. So we have some options. We can Wasteland our opponent and hope that strands is in their hand. I think that's probably our best bet. The other option here is to Brainstorm, which I don't really like very much. Hoping to find Null Rod, but then Khan can just do some pretty gross things to it. Urza's Workshop. And pass. They should up their Khan. They can target up to, so they can target nothing with this. Yep, I'm going upstairs with the Khan. A Daze. Do I think we can just play a Daze and get things going, or do I have to Wasteland right now? We do need to get on board, but the Daze doesn't help us get on board, does it? It kind of ends up being the same either way. So I think we just Wasteland again and pass. Because the Daze will bounce the land to our hands, we'll still be in the same position we were in. Except the Daze gets better the less lands that our opponent has in total. Urza's Tower. I'm going to reveal another artifact. It's a Lotus Petal. Okay. Do I think we're going to need an emergency Brainstorm? Possibly. So I think that means we're playing out this Scalding Tarn. Surprised our opponent hasn't gone for anything like a defense grid. As an Ancient Tomb. They have the ability to play the One Ring into a Daze here. Are they going to go get a defense grid? No. They already have a defense grid. Well, well, well. That sucks. I should have just gone on basic there. I don't know why I got this. Alright, let's go for the Brainstorm. It's not great, is it? So I can Daze this to stop our opponent from playing anything this turn. Or I can try and get some damage in on this Khan. Oh dear. So they have the defense grid now. We're getting dismembered. We are getting dismembered. That's pretty good. That stops our little plan of trying to get in at this Khan. I think our opponent's just got us absolutely banged to rights here. Alright. Let's get Undercity Sewers here. It's not really what we need right now, is it? Am I brainstorming right now? We're not going to do it next turn, are we? I guess we just do it now. Double Force of Will. Very funny deck. Now we can pay 3 for this on the following turn, but our opponent's going to have the One Ring. I think we just bury some forces. They're not going to do anything. How much mana does our opponent have here? 1, 2, 3, 4. If they play Plane and Nexus, then they can really go ham here. This is going to be the One Ring. Turns out playing their 4-drop on turn 1 was pretty good. We have to deal damage to a player to make our Ingenious Infiltrator work. So the way we win this game is probably involves... I don't think hitting the Karn here is the right move. It could be though. So if we Ingenious Infiltrator and hit our opponent, we're looking for Null Rod to shut off this One Ring before it gets out of hand. Alternatively, we pressure our opponent's life total. They're under Ancient Tomb and the One Ring. Maybe we can get there. I think that's what we're doing. It's not the plan I like to have, but I think it's the one we have. Alright. Let's try and just get some damage in on our opponent. Oh wait, it doesn't even work because of the One Ring. What am I doing? What am I doing? That was a huge... Oh my god, we're just all over the shop right now. Wow, this is the worst round of Magic I've played for some time. Sorry everyone. I have to go and take a walk after this one and clear my head. We didn't get to interact with stuff. So we should have just put 2 damage on the Karn. So now the Karn can untap and get something. What are we... Like, we might just be dead now anyway. But yeah, that was crazy loose. Fleshraker. How do we redeem ourselves? Candelabra of Tornos. No mana floating though. But they can just make like a defense grid into a creature if they wanted to. Right, untapping the One Ring. Okay, this gives us some options here. Alright, so they've got a land that's going to tap for 2 mana. They can then Candelabra of Tornos and untap some more. I don't think our misplay is actually going to matter, but it is very annoying that I did it. So they tap this for 3, and then they untap this and this. And then they end up with 5 mana available. So we can kill this with a Fatal Push in a weird way, because this is just a permanent leaving the battlefield. So we can Fatal Push this, Daze our own Fatal Push, pay for the Fatal Push. And we'll pay for the Daze on our Fatal Push. Then the Fatal Push resolves, and because of Revolt, it will kill their creature. And then what? We get to get chump blocked by an Eldrazi Spawn token? That doesn't seem great. They're almost always going to be left with an Eldrazi Spawn token. Right, they're untapping some lands. This One Ring plus the Ancient Tomb is going to do a lot, though. What are they doing? Paradox Engine. Have they got the mana for this? Can they cast one more spell? If they can cast one more spell, we lose the game anyway. Any spell kills us here, and they have one. Because they get to untap everything, and we're just not coming back from that. So it didn't actually matter with the Karn, because they would have just minused it to get it going. Yeah, that'll do. Okay. Play that one horribly. Didn't end up mattering, but damn. Okay. Don't want to do anything here. The Dazes on the play look way better. We can stop one of their big sort of splashy earlier doors plays. Maybe they're better than Tamiyo's. Take out one of the pushes. We'll try this. The Ornithopters are not really doing the most for me. But I like being able to play Ornithopter and have Consigned to Memory up on the first turn cycle. This hand doesn't really play, so we're going to have to take this one back. A 1-drop into a 2-drop with Daze. I think this is acceptable. I'm not excited about it, but it'll do. Let's go and get ourselves a Underground Sea, deploy the Changing Outcast, and pass a turn. And Urza's Saga, sure. Going to play a key? They are going to play a key. I'm not going to counterspell the key. Okay. I think we are just getting our card draw online. See if we can find some more answers. Next turn we can brainstorm looking for the land and the Null Rod. Wasteland also pretty good at this point. If we have to Daze, then things can get a little bit awkward for us. If we don't have to Daze, things also look a bit awkward for us. Okay, we have a Snuff Out here. That's a pretty big hit. Are we going to brainstorm here? I think we are. Okay, we have a Wasteland. That is pretty handy, isn't it? So I'd like this Wasteland. What are we putting on top? I would like a land the following turn. So what are we not interested in this hand? You know, the Yuriko is good for next turn. I guess kind of a choice between Brainstorm and stuff. So for this turn, we want to have the Snuff Out, the Daze, and the Wasteland in hand, for sure. And then we have one more mana to play with. So we could play this Outcast, that seems good. We could also play this Ornithopter, so maybe it is the Bowmasters that goes. And then we put this land on top. Alright, we will Wasteland this as a Saga. Cut that right out. You take 2 life to get your little friend. I'll snuff this out. We'll draw a card. And then the turn after we draw the land. Play out some guys so we can have loads and loads of ninja triggers next turn. That is the plan here. So we get 3 triggers. No, 3 creatures triggering, so that's 6 triggers. So we get to draw 6 cards and dome our opponent for the mana value of some of them. We just need to get through this turn, which we can do here. A Glaring Fleshraker. Do I want to make them spend their Lotus Petal? I think we do. This might stop them from deploying anything else this turn. Right, mission accomplished, I suppose. Let's attack with a team. Just get the Yuriko in here. So this is going to be a lot of cards. We should be able to find a Force and blue card in there, I would imagine. Force of Negation, Daze, Fatal Push. What are we going to hit with the Yuriko? Hit 3 off the Yuriko, hit nothing. Force? We did not hit the Force. That sucks. We do have a Force of Negation, so it's not nothing. Alright, Ornithopters assemble. We are doing it. We have Force of Negation for whatever their play is here. And then we can also follow up with a Daze. It's a case of how much this Fleshraker can pop off if they just play lots of little bits. They're not playing anything. They're going to do a Kozilek's Command in our turn, are they? Actually play the land out. And we go to attacks. Or are we doing a Dismember here? I'm going to Dismember our guy. Sure. They've already seen that we have a Yuriko in hand, so I don't understand this play. So they have to chump block here. We also could have just Fatal Push this creature and swung for lethal. There was a million ways that we could do this one. Let's Brainstorm in response to these Yuriko triggers. Right, so what we do is we just put anything on top and they die. Okay. That is 4 rounds down. We are 3-1, so a 4-1 is on the board. Let's see if we can snatch that one up. Whilst I may not play Pauper, I know a lot of you lovely people out there do. So I thought I'd let you know about a great charity Pauper tournament happening in upstate New York on the 21st of June. The tournament is in support of the Trevor Project and Trans Lifeline, so sign up to help a worthy cause and have fun doing it. It's a troubling time for our trans comrades out there, so show them that you've got their back. Click the link in the description of this video for more details. Alright, into the final round. We just got Tamiyo. We just play like a boring Tamiyo deck. We've already got one non-basic, so we're just going to play on non-basics. We're going to lead off on this one so that we can save the fetch land for any Brainstorm action. We do have a Force of Will. We don't have Force of Will and Daze. It's either or if we play the Tamiyo out. But we are playing the Tamiyo out. Because that is our game plan. With this hand anyway. I don't believe they're going to waste hand us when we have a Tamiyo. But sometimes you do. You say, okay, let's not let you have the mana to activate the clues. That means we do get to accrue resources if they do that. A Dark Ritual. Do we Daze the Dark Ritual or try and deal with what comes out of it? Alright, we're going to let them invest some mana. Cabal Therapy, you say? I guess they're going to name Force of Will here. Or they target themselves. They name Grizzlebrand. They have 2 Shallow Graves over there. So they have no mana floating now. I will Daze this, because this gives us a chance to Force of Will the next one if we can find a blue card. Also, we should have played at the Ornithopter last time, but didn't. Snuff Out. That is not a blue card. We can't Wasteland here for any value. Surveil Land. Our opponent just gets to put this Grizzlebrand in now. What is our solution to this problem? Can't believe playing out Tamiyo ended up being the wrong play. We're just going to lose to black reanimated decks twice this league. Could be. At least it's not blue-black reanimator. There's Bloodstained Mire. They're going to send this little Grizzlebrand at us. We don't get to interact with it, unfortunately. Yep, this sucks a lot. So they're going to draw 14 cards, most likely. They might be able to kill us this turn with something like a Borborygmus, or just getting a hasty Archon of Cruelty into play as well, and then some other friends. Right, they're on 5. I'm going to block with Ornithopter. I'd actively like to bounce my Tamiyo back to my hand. Right, they get another 7 cards. They've only drawn 21 cards this turn. 22 if you include their draw step. I don't believe we have a way through this. They're going to unmask me and take my Force of Will. So the thing we should have done is when they Cabal Therapy targeting themselves, we should have hit it. But I misread the chat and thought they were targeting me. So we did have a way of winning this game. And now we're going to get beaten. Entomb. We'll wait till they go to discard, because then we can see what the green count of their deck looks like. It looks like we're just straight into mono black again. There's an Arc of Cruelty, so we're going to lose a Tamiyo. We're going to lose the Wasteland from our hand, which does nothing. So if we'd have read the chat correctly, we would have counterspelled the Cabal Therapy and stranded them with no enabler. And taking our last card, this also just puts the Grizzlebrand into their graveyard, which is an important zone for it to be in. I just want to see the 10 cards they discard, and then we'll scoop. I guess for completeness sake, I should Undercity Sewers here. Not that we have anything that really deals with his Archon once it's in. By bidding off the Brainstorm here, it makes our opponent think we have a 2-mana answer for the Arc of Cruelty. Or they discard. It is just mono black stuff. Nothing that makes them green mana at all. Okay. Yeah, we could have won that one. Let's go and add in some Graveyard Hate. Let's go and get some more Countless Magic. We'll get rid of these Wastelands. They don't seem to have any use here. They probably have the Doubted Voidwalker fair plan as well, so we can keep some stuff in for that. The Retrofitter Foundry is very slow and unlikely to do very much here. I think I just take out one Tamiyo and then rock with something that looks like this. Taking out these Wastelands feels pretty good here. We can consign to stop some triggers like Atraxa. I could board in the Barragoyf as just like a thoroughly good guy, but I think just having the creatures that accrue us card advantage that can stop their plan is better. This does not really interact with our opponent at all, so we can't keep it. This hand does interact. Okay. I'll keep this. What are we getting rid of? Probably an Infiltrator or a Brainstorm. Maybe a Brainstorm. Because the Infiltrator can come into play on turn 2 and just start accruing us cards without having to crack the Tamiyo. And we also get to keep an extra blue card in hand for doing that. And if we have to force this turn, we'd probably pitch the Ingenious Infiltrator though. An Unmask targeting us. We have 2 things they would want to take, so we're not going to spend 2 cards on this. We can Brainstorm and start working towards having all the cards in our hand with the Tamiyo. Took the Harsh Surgical. That is a Lotus Petal. Entomb. Well, we have to do something about this. Let's go to attacks. I think we are brainstorming here. 2 useless cards. Cool. I guess we can not put a Kaito in for a while, so that just goes on top, and we put the Bowmasters on top so they can't take anything from our hand. We have a Tamiyo. Tamiyo ticks up. We play the Underground Sea. Next turn we get back the Surgical or the Force. What is the better card to get back here? The Surgical or the Force? The Force can hit like a Duke plan, but the Surgical... I think I'm just going to take the Surgical actually. I think it works better with our mana to not hold up this Force. Okay, so now we get in with the Orcish Bowmasters. Plus a Tamiyo. Attack with both of our guys. Put in a Kaito. I will get rid of the Orc Army because the Orcish Bowmasters being in play is just a really useful object. And now we're going to Surveil. Grafdigger's Cage and a Force of Will. I guess we put the Grafdigger's Cage on top and then the Force of Will on top. So this is so that we can't have the Grafdigger's Cage discarded from us. The Force of Will is kind of like bait-ish here. Our opponent's seeing what we've just done there. Also, they're playing a bunch of green mana now, which we didn't see before. So they probably do have the Witherbloom Apprentice combo. Now we still have 2 Fatal Pushes in for it, but we could just be dead this turn. Alright, they're surveilling. Alright, we just win the game there. Okay. So, do we want another Fatal Push since we saw things that suggest Witherbloom Apprentice? Alright, let's smash one in over an Ornithopter. Having like an enabler isn't always the best thing here, because we need the piece to go with it, but we're going to be mulliganing to other pieces. This is not a keepable hand. And this is also not a keepable hand. Our opponent just gets to tee off on us here. Like we've got a game plan, and I think we just have to suck it up. We've got something that answers the Witherbloom Apprentice combo. I'm probably going to assume we have graveyard stuff, but they're going to have Unmask, Cabal Therapy, and Thoughtseize. Not playing anything in their first turn. Are they going to... Oh no, just second make phase. So they were going to be drawing up on our turn and then discarding. Thoughtseize. Read them and weep, opponent. They should take the Ingenious Infiltrator, so that way we can't have a blue card for Force of Will. They correctly took the right card. I hate it when my opponents do that. Right, Ornithopter. We did find a counter spell. It's not a great one, but it does work. So we can Undercity Sewers here if we need to. Try and get a little bit of surveil action going. And then Daze. They target themselves with an Unmask. We can't interact with this with our Daze because they have 1 mana up. So we're going to try and catch a spell that comes out of it. We need to interact here. And we get this Undercity Sewers. Fatal Push is not what we want. We have to Daze this, otherwise we don't get a turn. They're just going to wombo us. Undercity Sewers. It doesn't do anything, is a problem. Okay. We need like Grafdigger's Cage and such. So now they're just going to get this Grizzle Brand and kill us. So we messed this game up, game 1. I misread where they're pointing the Cabal Therapy, and that cost us the 4-1. Alright, so we finished with a 3-2. It should have been a 4-1 if I'd have played that slightly better. But here we are. How do I feel about this particular build of Ninjas? So, ordinarily, I'm not a fan of going big into Retrofitter Foundry. This is not something that I particularly like. And I also, that means I'm not as hot on Ornithopter as some other people. I'm also generally don't like playing Wastelands. However, the format has shifted a lot since the Urza Saga change. We've seen a lot more Urza Saga decks because all the red decks are playing them as well now. So having a couple in the main makes sense, and then that just means that we're playing a bunch of dual lands to sort of compensate with it instead of playing the basic mana base, so we don't have any sort of like back to basic stuff going on. And I think that is fine. You saw it was pretty combo-y. We weren't getting wastelanded that much, so it didn't really matter. In terms of how I feel about ninjas at the moment, I think it's fine. I think blue-black is just a very strong place to be in Legacy right now. I do like the Changeling Outcast a lot more than some people. That's one thing I will say. So even though it dies to Orcish Bowmasters, I do like having access to more Changeling Outcasts. I think the thing that I would consider changing in a list like this would be like these slots. I'm just not really a big lover of Retrofitter Foundry. I would rather have like another Changing Outcast, so maybe swap 2 of these for Outcasts, because the Outcast is really good with Kaito. Like I've even played builds that go up to 4 Kaito before. Like we have forces that you can pitch it to, we can brainstorm it away. It's another nice thing to hit off of a Yuriko. You can also do tricks where you attack with your Kaito, flip it to another Kaito, so you can continually tap down stuff. So that's kind of what I would want to change. Maybe like 3 slots here for another Kaito and a couple of Changing Outcasts. But all in all, the deck felt pretty strong today. I think the weak link was most certainly me. I did miss having Brazen Borrower a little bit because Resolve Permanents were a little bit tricky. We just have the 1 Otawara to deal with them. Yes, Kaito can tap stuff down, but it doesn't work against non-creature permanents, so it gets a little bit awkward for us. Sideboard-wise, yeah, Baragoyf is just a thing that you just play in black decks now, and it just gives you free wins against red decks. But all in all, the sideboard felt fine. Again, I wouldn't mind having something to deal with a Resolve Permanent in the sideboard. Now, obviously, Null Rod is trying to do that job a little bit, but I wouldn't hate seeing something like a Borrower in the sideboard, or just some sort of tool that we can get problem permanents out of play with. Even a Sheoldred's Edict, because that hits Planeswalkers, would be quite useful. Otherwise, you just have to attack them. But the unblockable creatures do make Planeswalkers easier to deal with as well. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this one and managed to bear with me through it all. Please remember to like and subscribe. And congratulations to Lord Beerus for winning the Legacy Challenge with this deck. It's pretty sweet, and it's nice to see something a little bit off-kilter doing well. Alright, thank you for watching, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbodepths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low-cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbodepths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.